Now. Glucose, right on. 98 minutes. On that line.
Hecatito, time?
99.
The cells. They're holding. They're stable. No, Hecatito, no, not quite.
I'll get it.
The movie begins in a factory situated by the seashore, where the factory owner anxiously awaits the arrival of a visitor. That visitor is Robert Durant, a notorious figure in the real estate underworld, who arrives with a group of men. After undergoing a thorough security check, Robert and his crew are granted access to the factory. Determined to seize control of the establishment by any means necessary, Robert confronts the owner, who steadfastly refuses to surrender his business. In a chilling display of intimidation, Robert signals one of his men, who reveals a firearm hidden in his prosthetic leg and opens fire, mercilessly killing everyone in the factory. With the owner now captured, Robert takes control of the factory and brutally mutilates him by cutting off his fingers. Meanwhile, we are introduced to Peyton, a dedicated scientist working diligently on groundbreaking research involving synthetic skin alongside his lab partner. His goal is to develop this innovative skin to aid victims of severe burns. After much effort, Peyton successfully creates synthetic skin but discovers that it only remains stable for 99 minutes before disintegrating into liquid. Despite this setback, he remains optimistic that he and his team can perfect the technology soon. Later, we see Peyton sharing a tender moment with his girlfriend, Julie, as they reminisce over old photographs. The following morning, Julie, a government lawyer, is preoccupied with her work when Peyton surprises her with a marriage proposal. Although she expresses her love for him, she does not give an answer regarding the proposal. Subsequently, Julie meets Louis, a wealthy businessman with grand ambitions to develop a modern colony that promises to create numerous job opportunities. However, his plans involve bribing officials at the Land Commission to acquire the necessary land. Aware of Louis' unethical tactics due to her position as a lawyer for the commission, Julie confronts him about it. Louis openly admits to his actions, justifying them as part of his dream for societal betterment. He warns her that Robert Durant is also after the land and that should Robert succeed, it would spell disaster. Back in the lab, Peyton continues his work on the synthetic skin alongside his assistant. During this time, a sudden power outage occurs, yet miraculously, Peyton discovers that his experiment has succeeded. The skin remains stable even beyond the critical 99-minute mark. Just as he shares this exciting news with his assistant, Robert and his men storm in to retrieve crucial documents located at Peyton's home. In a violent confrontation, Robert's men kill Peyton's assistant and inflict horrific injuries on Peyton before burning down the laboratory and fleeing the scene. The explosion from the lab sends Peyton's body hurtling into a nearby river. Days later, Julie stands mournfully by what she believes is Peyton's grave, only to discover that it is actually her assistant's final resting place. During the explosion, Peyton's assistant suffered severe burns, leaving him unrecognizable, and everyone mistakenly believed he was Peyton. In reality, Peyton lay in a hospital, his entire body charred and damaged. As the doctors performed surgery on him, he felt no pain. However, this trauma led to an unexpected side effect: intense anger issues. When Peyton finally regained consciousness, he leapt out of the hospital window, wandering aimlessly in the rain until he stumbled upon Julie. But when she saw him, fear overtook her, and she fled, unable to recognize the man he had become. Realizing he needed to distance himself from her until he could restore his appearance, Peyton returned to his lab, sorrowfully surveying the remnants of his former life. Determined to recreate the synthetic skin that had once given him hope, he ventured into a derelict factory the next day to set up his new lab. As he began the painstaking process of reconstructing his face from synthetic skin, he faced a significant challenge. He only possessed a burnt photograph of half his face, making immediate progress impossible. It became evident that crafting a new face would take an arduous 570 hours. Anger simmered within him as he looked at his hands and recalled Robert's betrayal. Revenge began to consume his thoughts. That night, Julie attended a party hosted by Louis, who attempted to get close to her. Feeling uncomfortable, she left the gathering. Meanwhile, Peyton lingered outside, watching through a window. His attention was drawn to one of Robert's henchmen, the very man responsible for his assistant's death. When the thug stepped outside, Peyton seized the opportunity to confront him. He tortured the man until he revealed that Robert collected payments weekly and that another accomplice named Polly was involved in smuggling operations. After leaving the henchman incapacitated in a gutter, where he would eventually meet his demise under a bus, Peyton turned his focus on finding Polly. He discreetly captured images of Polly's face and hands, as well as those of his associates. Back at his lab, Peyton successfully created a flawless synthetic skin replica of Polly. Donning this disguise, he knocked Polly unconscious with chloroform and infiltrated a restaurant to collect a substantial briefcase of cash. However, when Robert arrived at Polly's home seeking answers about the missing money, he found train tickets that suggested Polly intended to flee with the funds. In a fit of rage, Robert threw Polly out of the window, killing him instantly. As Polly's lifeless body lay on a car below, Peyton sat on a nearby bench in his disguise. A woman's horrified scream pierced through the air as she recognized him, causing Peyton to panic as he felt his synthetic skin beginning to crack. Glancing at the timer, he realized only 2 minutes remained before it would disintegrate. Frantically, he dashed back to his lab, guilt gnawing at him for taking 2 lives. Once there, he resumed work on perfecting the synthetic skin but found himself overwhelmed with frustration when it failed to stabilize after 99 minutes. In a fit of rage, he began destroying everything around him while haunted by flashbacks of that fateful day. Just as despair threatened to consume him entirely, the computer announced that the synthetic skin for his face was finally ready. The following day, Peyton dons his synthetic skin and makes his way to the graveyard to confront Julie. When she sees him, her initial reaction is one of sheer panic, but he quickly soothes her fears. He reveals the truth of his transformation and poses a poignant question: would she still love him if he no longer bore the same face? Conflicted, Julie admits her uncertainty. Later that night, Robert contacts one of his associates, expressing his frustration over the financial loss incurred due to Polly's betrayal. He ominously declares his intention to personally retrieve the money from Chinatown. Unbeknownst to Robert, Peyton is eavesdropping on this conversation through a hidden transmitter. Fueled by determination, he crafts a synthetic skin that perfectly resembles Robert. The next day, Peyton, now disguised as Robert, enters a bookshop and brandishes a gun at the shopkeeper. He turns to the camera and declares his name with chilling confidence. Meanwhile, the police arrive at Robert's residence and arrest him. Seizing the opportunity, Peyton heads to Chinatown to collect the money, constantly glancing at his watch, acutely aware of the 99-minute time limit on his disguise. Just as he prepares to leave with the cash, the real Robert arrives and is taken aback by the sight of his double. In a moment of chaos, Robert orders his men to shoot at Peyton, but confusion ensues as they struggle to discern who their target is. At that critical moment, Peyton's synthetic skin begins to deteriorate, prompting him to distract the henchman and make a hasty escape. Later, Peyton meets Julie at a carnival, where his frustration boils over when a shopkeeper denies him a prize. In a fit of rage, he breaks the shopkeeper's fingers, and as his skin begins to melt again, he flees in distress. Shocked by his violent outburst, Julie follows him back to the factory. There, she discovers an array of masks and realizes that something deeply troubling has happened to Peyton. She calls out for him, assuring him that she can help, but he remains hidden, watching her from afar. The next day, Julie visits Louis's office and reveals that Peyton is alive. As Louis answers a ringing phone, Julie stumbles upon documents related to the commission that were thought to be destroyed. The shocking truth unfolds: Robert works for Louis, who had ordered the destruction of Peyton's laboratory and confessed to having killed him. Stunned by this revelation, Julie exits the office in haste. Once she leaves, Louis contacts Robert to inform him of Peyton's survival and instructs him to follow Julie. Later, Julie arrives at Peyton's factory, where he observes her from a window. In that moment, Robert and his men arrive and abduct her. Determined to rescue her, Peyton pursues them but is confronted by Robert in a helicopter overhead. As Robert opens fire on him, Peyton narrowly escapes into the safety of his factory. However, disaster strikes as Robert's men infiltrate the factory and begin shooting at Peyton. In a desperate bid for survival, he utilizes his collection of look-alike synthetic skins, crafted in advance, to take down each assailant one by one. After vanquishing all of Robert's henchmen, Peyton returns to confront Robert in the helicopter. In a brutal act of betrayal, Robert pushes him from the helicopter, but Peyton deftly grabs hold of the support rope, managing to save himself. Desperate to eliminate him, Robert commands the pilot to increase the helicopter's speed, yet his efforts prove futile. Spotting a truck below, Peyton ties the helicopter rope to it, resulting in a catastrophic crash and explosion. In the aftermath, Robert meets with Louis, unaware that Peyton has cleverly donned Robert's synthetic skin. Meanwhile, Louis holds Julie captive, taking both of them to the top floor of a high-rise building. Upon reaching the summit, Louis removes Peyton's disguise, revealing his true face. What follows is a fierce and intense confrontation between Peyton and Louis. In a climactic moment, Peyton throws Louis off the building, ensuring his demise. Later, as Julie gazes upon Peyton's true visage, she reassures him that while he may wear artificial skin, her love for him remains unwavering. Yet, Peyton reveals a deeper truth: he feels dead not only on the outside but is also transformed within, becoming a monster unworthy of love. With a heavy heart, he walks away from Julie, who desperately calls after him as he melts into the crowd. Before vanishing entirely, Peyton steals one last glance at Julie, encapsulating their bittersweet connection. The film concludes with his haunting declaration: "I am everyone and no one, everywhere and nowhere. Call me Darkman." Thank you for watching. If you are new, don't forget to subscribe for more recaps. Until next time, have a nice day.